So the card that's come up for you is you are capable of anything.
I like that. That's a good affirmation, isn't it?
It is. You are capable of anything. And I was wondering how that card sort of resonates with you, given your history as a press photographer, but also what you're doing now with the podcast, Mim's Moments, and this idea that you can do absolutely anything. That you don't have to stay on one road, like you can take the road less traveled. Like,
So true. My mindset used to be this: I'm on this traveling road. I'm doing just the photography and that's it, nothing else. But then I thought, well, no, because there's more to me than just the photography. It's all about the stories that people come to me with that weren't more than just a photograph. Want them to talk about it and for me to listen and for them to give them a voice. So it's not just my photography, it's my words as well, if you like, and their words combining together.
yeah. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about your origin story in a way? Like, how did you get into photography and journalism in the first place?
Well, I've always loved being a part of storytelling. I think it goes back to my childhood, growing up in an Irish family, lots of Celtic folk stories and all sitting around telling stories to each other and then retelling them to other people and friends and other family members. So I think I've always enjoyed storytelling and being part of that community of storytellers. And I've always been quite artistic and like to be a bit creative as well. And I used to write my own little stories and tell them to people, like little fictional ones.
Yeah.
So I'd always enjoyed that. And I thought of myself as being quite artistic. But unfortunately, when it came to exam time, didn't do so great in my exams. I had a lot of stuff going on at school at the time. So I didn't get the grades that I needed to get into art college. And I was absolutely devastated at the time. Really, when you're 16 years old and you think your life's going in one way, and I was really disappointed. Then my friend at the time said, "Oh, I'm doing this, show my age now, Lucy, this YTS scheme.
Oh,
You wear like a early version of an apprentice, you know."
yeah.
So I ended up going to work in a double glazing firm. It was very depressing, but anyway, it learned me how to touch type and to do press releases and things like that they wanted and adverts and things. And that sort of got me half in the door of writing, and I occasionally have to take pictures to help with the advertising. And then I left that job, got a job at the West Midlands Safari Park in Bewdley, which was
Really?
it was a real eye opener. And I was still doing my photography at the time. And we used to get a lot of press photographers coming in for events that were happening. And I happened to get chatting to one of the press photographers, just saying about both our love of photography and storytelling. And he said, "Well, why don't you do what I do?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know whether I can." Because I lacked the confidence then because not getting into art college. And he said, "Well, what's stopping you going back to college and retaking your art exams and doing something with that?" And it sort of left a question mark then. And I kept thinking about it after he'd left, and a couple of weeks went past, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go into the college and I'm just going to inquire. And I was 25 at this point. So I went in, had a chat with one of the lecturers, and he said, "Well, show me some of your work." So I showed him. And he said, "Look, there's no part-time courses going, but there is a full-time course going." And he said, "We'll take into consideration we class you as a mature student at 25. I was like, okay. So I quit my job and I went to college full-time. And I was at least a decade older than most of the students in there. But I absolutely loved it, Lucy. It really released that creativity that had been laying dormant.
Yes.
And it was the best thing that I did at that time. And then from there, I just took advantage of any opportunities that came my way, like work experience, different newspapers, even managed to snag a week's work experience down in London at the Daily Telegraph.
Wow.
Because a friend of a friend knew somebody and somebody had dropped out.
Yeah.
And they said, "If you can get down to London tomorrow, the week's yours." And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is it, isn't it? Like, just a comment or an invitation from somebody that you meet along the way forces you to reevaluate the path that you're on. And it's funny that you remember that conversation with the gentleman that you were there at the West Safari Park, because do you still did you see him again, or did you kind of bump into that person again along the way, or was it just that fleeting moment
It
in
was, yeah,
your
it was a
story?
fleeting moment. I would love to like reconnect with them, but
Yeah.
they were, yeah, it would be great.
It's
So
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah,
And, as you said there, the opportunity that you had to go down to London, and you said something like a friend of a friend, and it's often the connections that you have in your network, in your community, that signpost you to other things, isn't it? And I was wondering if there were any other sort of chance meetings or opportunities that you'd had that's kind of that have led you down this path, and any stories that have really stayed with you as you've kind of moved through your career.
yeah, there's been so many. I think working in sort of regional newspapers after doing the work experience, I've met such wonderful people, and not just, the amazing everyday people that come through the doors, but celebrities as well. And one thing that sort of all have in common, some celebrities, before you start taking their pictures, are just as nervous as anybody else, really. I suppose they're more aware of how their image is portrayed, but they're still just as nervous as everyday other people. So
Mm,
it's interesting to find that. But there's been stories where there was one story in particular where a young lad his dad was doing a race for him to raise funds because unfortunately the poor young lad was suffering with cancer, and they were trying to raise funds to send him to America for treatment. And stories like that do stay with you because you
mm,
become a small part of their journey. And luckily, they raised the money that they needed to send him to
yeah.
America, so for the treatment. And it's quite a privilege to be part of that small little snippet of time.
We've been rehearsing the show this week.
Yeah.
So we've got a show on Thursday, and today's rehearsal was really full on. Like, the children just had forgotten all of the blocking that I'd done with them the last 6 weeks. And it's just, I was just staring at the stage thinking, oh my gosh, I've got 2 more days to get this together. And I know it'll be fine, but working under pressure, I mean, you must do that as well, right? Working under pressure. How do you handle the stress of trying to put together this, the
Yeah.
article with the photos and the deadlines? How do you deal with that?
Lots of deep breaths. But all joking aside, like I do a bit of like box breathing, which does help. You feel like you're getting there's people out on it at this end and that end, and you're just trying to like, let's just take a minute out and
Yeah.
just breathe, as they say. And then I always write little notes to myself, and that helps as well to get it out,
Yeah.
for me anyway, personally.
I no, I do. For those people who are listening, if there's something that works for you, let us know, because, when you are under the pressure to produce something, especially when it's a creative endeavor, because, you don't want to feel like you are hemmed in by all of those expectations. But when you have a responsibility, when there's a commitment there, it can really get to you, the pressure. And I know it'll be fine on the night. Yeah, today has been pretty stressful. And I was looking back through all of your catalogue of the podcast and moments that you've done, and you started in 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
So we were just coming out of COVID at that point.
Yeah.
So what spurred you on to start a podcast in the first place? Was it something that you thought about doing because of your work with the press, or was it just something that you wanted to do for yourself? Like, how did that idea take fruition?
I'd always loved listening to podcasts. And as you know, I loved telling stories. So I think
Yeah,
it was a sort of, well, I wouldn't say natural progression, because I would listen to the podcasts and I'd love them. And I think to myself, oh, daydream, like, oh, maybe one day I might try it out, sort of thing. And then one day I discovered the hosting site, so is it Spotify for podcasters or something like that anyway.
yeah,
And I thought, well, do you know what? I'll give it a go. And I was talking to a council lady that I'd been taking some pictures of, and she was on about trying to encourage more young girls to look at politics as a career. And like I said, it was around coming out of COVID time, so we couldn't meet indoors. So we ended up meeting in a nearby park and did the podcast there from my phone, which was a bit surreal, but it kind of worked,
Yeah, it did.
because
Did you use remote mics then? Or do you use
that,
your mic on your phone, or how does it all work?
yeah, I just used the mic on my phone, to be honest.
Wow.
I should really invest in getting some proper clip-on mics for the other person, but maybe I will.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it sounds brilliant. I mean, something that I really love about your podcast as well is that the trailer you talk about, you press photographer, mother, storyteller, and then you manage to create such an intimate feeling in your podcast because it's very much in the moment. Like the episodes that I've listened to, I mean, the one where you go into the care home and you've got
Yeah,
the harpist that's playing, and
yeah.
it's almost like, yeah, I'm getting a little snapshot of your life and the people's lives around you. It's so beautiful and so natural as well. Like, is that kind of like the format that you wanted to explore all along?
Yes. Thank you for saying that. That's really sweet of you. But yeah, I wanted it to be almost like documentary style, like sort of dropping in on someone's life and their experiences and being like a fly on the wall, so to speak. I like the idea of just being in the moment with it, and I like the sort of the recording it as it's happening sort of thing, as she's playing the harp and getting the people's reactions. And it's nice to be in that world and give you a little snippet. Not that I can play the harp. I'd love to, but no, it's nice to be involved in someone's own creativity and their own life and get a little hint of what they're all about.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, most of my episodes are sort of between 30 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on how the conversation goes. But I've often wondered whether having shorter episodes, because yours can be anywhere between sort of 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes, because we're so busy, having that shorter episode sometimes allows listeners just to dip in and dip out. Is that sort of something that you wanted to create as well, or are you hoping to sort of maybe extend them as well as you move through how you're going to develop the podcast? What's your thinking with that?
I like the idea of having a little sort of snapshot, bite-sized
Mm.
podcasts, and that you can just turn on if you're going for a short drive, or you're just putting the kettle on, or you're baking, or you're doing something, just being like a little companion alongside you, having a little snippet to listen to, and gets you thinking. And then hopefully you'd go on my podcast and you'd see the link for that person's website or email if you want to find out more.
And so when it comes to the guests that you're interviewing,
Yeah.
how do you find your guests? Because you mentioned the counselor that you were talking to. Is it through your day-to-day work, the networking? Because I know you do a lot of networking. Is it through that you find the guests, or are they coming to you via recommendations, or like how does that all work for those people who are maybe thinking about starting a podcast or wondering about the process?
Yeah. It's a mixture, really, networking as well. And I'll be talking to people and I'll think, oh, that might be an interesting story. Also, things that happen in my day to day life. The one example was, and I hadn't planned it, I was walking down the street and this 3 or 4 little nursery children with their teacher came up and gave me a little picture, little lovely little picture. And I was like, oh, what's this for? And the little child said, oh, it's for Random Acts of Kindness Day. And I thought, how sweet is that? So I said to the teacher, I would love to come up and have a little interview with them and chat about it. And I hadn't planned it. It was just completely out of the blue. Obviously, we had to seek permission from the school and
Yeah.
things. But yeah, we did it, and it was really nice.
It's so lovely. And it is sort of capturing those moments, isn't it, in your day-to-day life that make your podcast so special, because those conversations are spontaneous,
Yeah.
they are organic, it's like like a little invitation into other people's worlds. And I suppose that that lends itself really nicely to your photography as well, because a photograph can say so many things. What was it about photography that inspired you in the first place? And what makes a good photograph?
That is a tough question. Tough question. I could say all about the sort of rule of thirds and
Mm,
composition and light and all of that sort of, there's so many different elements.
yeah.
But really, it comes down to when you feel the urge and when something comes over you and you press that button. It's whether it's on your phone or whether it's on a camera, when
Yeah.
something sparks your interest and you see something and you think, I've got to capture that. I want to keep that as a memento, like see a reflection somewhere, or somebody's laughing at something and it's candid and it's not posed. Those are my favorite type of photographs to take, is when people aren't aware,
Hmm.
because people are a lot more natural then. But yeah, it's when you decide to take that picture, when you press that button, that's when the magic happens, as they say, because
Yeah.
you're in that zone and you're looking through the lens and all you're seeing is what's in that little box.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what I'm hearing as well is that there is a lot of instinct. I remember talking to Nancy Pinkerton. She is a photographer. She lives in Scotland. She's actually originally from Canada. And she created a series of photographs exploring the history of the Scottish kings and a chessboard. And I just think the magic of photography, I've always loved photography. My brother James really loves photography. And it does seem to me that there needs to be that level of instinct and capturing the story of the person or whatever you're taking that photograph of. Who would you love to take a photograph of? If you could take a photograph of anybody, who would it be? I've put you on the spot, but would there be somebody that you would absolutely love just to sit with and take a photograph of?
Well, that is a good question.
There's no pressure. Go and grab yourself a cup of tea, guys, while she thinks about this.
I think I would, it's going to sound really strange, but not somebody famous, but I would love to be able to, I mean, he's passed away now, but I would have loved to have taken more pictures of my granddad, because he had such a great face and you always wish that you had more time with people to ask them questions and, about things that have gone on in their past and,
Hmm.
when they were younger and things. So I think for me, I think I would love to be able to sit in a room with him again and take his picture. And he saw a little glimpse of my photography before he passed away, so I'd given him some pictures and things.
Yeah.
But it's, I like to think it would be nice to show how I progressed and give him a picture. So I think that would be my pick at the moment anyway.
That's lovely. Did your granddad or anyone in your family take photographs? Is there a keen photographer in the family?
Actually, Dad he retired and he joined a camera club back in Ireland.
Did he?
Yeah, and
Wow.
he absolutely loves it. Dad has an artistic style about him as well. I mean, he's done some painting, and when his working life, he used to be an architectural technician, so
Wow.
drawing involved. And but it's great to see him following his passion as well. I mean, he's got some beautiful pictures that I've seen that he's taken, not just for the camera club, but for himself. And it's lovely seeing him explore that side, of himself.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. And I think, it's really important to celebrate those family talents, I think. If I think about my mum's a dancer, my grandma dances, she used to dance with my grandpa. And, it's lovely to think that those talents or those flair, the flair that we have in our family, that kind of like gets passed on. I just love thinking about how that is possible. And I was wondering, because have you had a photography exhibition recently, or have I made that up completely?
No, no, you haven't made up. I do a well-being photography course.
Yeah.
Last year I did one, and I put the students' work into an exhibition. My first time doing a proper exhibition at Kidderminster Library at their gallery space.
Wow.
And it was really nice for them, but also for me to be creative with how I laid it out and what pictures went where and the mounts and the prints. And it really made me feel proud of all the work that they'd done and the stories behind the pictures that they'd chosen to be put into the exhibition. A couple of them came and saw it while I was putting it up, and some of them came and saw it throughout the month that it was up. So it was a real feel-good feeling, for them to
Yeah.
see it.
And how many people took part in the course, and what age range with it?
Let's see, there was about maybe 10 or so. So I wanted it to be quite intimate. I didn't want it to be too many because I wanted to be able to focus on each individual, and each class we had like a themed session. So one week it would be black and white photography, another week it might be portraits where I dragged my sister in to be a model.
I bet she loved that.
She did actually, and also all the different photographers took a slightly different picture of it, different light, different angle. So it just goes to show one model, but to be taken in completely different ways.
Yeah. I know, it's fascinating, isn't it? The kind of the different aspects of the subject and that how that can be captured. And I know that, supporting our mental health through creative activities, hobbies is so important. Are you hoping to sort of explore that a little bit more this year?
Yes, I'm hoping to do another one perhaps in March, April time, and explore the sort of meditative, I can't even say the word now, but like a meditative state when
Yeah.
you're taking photographs, to sort of lean into that more and use it as a tool for your mental health. Because
Brilliant.
I find for my own personal mental health, take time out and just take a deep breath and try and shush away any of those other things that are on your mind. And just I find if you're focusing yourself on a creative task, everything else seems to slip away because you're just thinking of that one thing. You're looking through that lens and everything else sort of quietens down. And especially if you're outdoors, you can use all your senses. You can hear the birds singing, and feel the sort of wind on your face. And it really sort of transports you there. And I find it's a nice release. You can just do a nice deep breath. And even you don't even need to take a picture. You can just take a deep breath,
Yeah.
look through the lens, sort of concentrate, and then you can move it wherever you want then. If something's in the corner of your eye that you don't like, or it's annoying you, you can just turn around and just take a picture
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to the idea of what we focus on in
Yes,
life, doesn't it? There's a lot going on at the moment in the world, and I think we must look after ourselves, and we must choose wisely what we focus on and who we choose to listen to and to look at. And I think that's a great message, actually. We are in charge of what we see and what we focus on. So I
exactly
think
that.
I think that's a really, really important message. So are you coming to the West Midlands podcast meetup? It's
Yes, on the
coming up.
28th of March. Yes, I'm
Good.
looking forward to that.
I know, me too. For those of you who are interested in podcasting, the lovely Sarah runs the West Midlands Podcast Club. We meet up. It's every first Thursday, isn't it, of the month, and we meet virtually. And yeah, we talk podcasting. I mean, Sarah's been instrumental in me setting up the Wilderness of Creativity podcast. She knows so much about podcasting. She's so passionate about it. And so do check out West Midlands Podcast Club. Mim and I will be getting together in person in March to play some darts, of all things. I better get practicing.
God, I don't think I've thrown the dart and Aisha's.
God, we know. And there's going to be a big group of us, isn't there? So it'll be nice to chat to everybody and to see you in person. And yeah, I look forward to releasing this episode and for people to get to know you. All of the links to Mim's podcast and her socials will be in the show notes. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in March.
Thank you. You too.